Many professionals were never taught how to fully assess tongue tie, and families are often left trying to reach their breastfeeding goals without the support they actually need. If feeding feels harder than it should, I don't want you to be alone. I wrote Tongue Tie for Parents to help you understand what's happening and how to move forward with a clear, thoughtful approach. It's the same guidance I would give you if you were sitting with me in my office. It takes a holistic, functional view, guiding you through what to look for, how to think about next steps, and what actually helps. Available now on Amazon. Link is in the show notes. Welcome to the season marking 4 years of the Tongue Tie Experts podcast. I'm incredibly grateful for what this space has become. What started as a simple idea to create thoughtful, evidence-based, and multidisciplinary conversations about tongue tie, infant feeding, and airway-centered care has grown into a global community of professionals who are committed to doing better for babies and families. Over the years, I've had the honor of sitting down with parents, lactation consultants, dentists, birth and medical professionals, therapists, researchers, and educators from around the world. Together, we've explored the science, the controversy, the clinical nuance, and the very real human stories that live at the heart of this work. My hope has always been that this podcast supports you in thinking critically, collaborating confidently, caring more deeply, and helping more people. If you're new here, welcome. I'm so grateful that you found us. To those of you who have been listening, sharing episodes, and sending messages over the years, thank you. Your support is the reason this podcast continues to grow. To our guests and sponsors, special thanks to you for your incredible contribution to this mission. Let's see how long we can keep this going. Please click, follow, leave a rating or review, and share with a colleague. It truly helps this podcast reach more who need to hear these insights. Now, let's get into today's episode. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Tongue Tie Experts podcast. I just got back from the ICAP conference in Portland. If you don't know what ICAP is, it's the International Consortium of Ankyloglossia Professionals. Wow, what an experience. I've been reflecting on it, had a nice long plane ride to think about it, and after a good night's sleep in my very own time zone, I thought I would share it with you. Not just what I learned, not just who I saw, but how it felt. Because there's something that happens when you step into a space where people understand your work on a deep level. And I think it's something we don't talk about enough. So today I want to take you inside this experience. Not just the conference, but what it means for you, for your work, and for the families you serve. And excuse my voice here and there because, as I said, I'm just getting over a long travel and a weekend with little sleep. But we're going to do this. So let's start here. This work can feel isolating. Because if you're listening to this, there's a good chance you've felt this at some point, and sometimes maybe every day. Working with tongue tie, especially from a functional breastfeeding, dyad-centered perspective, is not always the mainstream approach. You might be the only one in your practice asking these questions, the only one looking beyond weight gain and saying, but is feeding actually working? The only one noticing tension, compensation, subtle dysfunction. The only one trying to connect feeding to airway, to development, to the bigger picture. And sometimes you don't get a lot of reinforcement for that. Sometimes you get pushback. Sometimes you get blank stares. Sometimes you get silence. In my case, there was a point where I got disrespected for my views. Over time, that can make you question yourself, not because you don't know what you're doing, but because you don't have enough people around you who see what you see, who know what you know, and can't unknow it. And then you walk into a conference like ICAP, and something shifts almost immediately. You start having conversations where you don't have to start from the beginning. You don't have to explain why latch matters. You don't have to defend why function matters more than appearance. You don't have to justify why you're looking at the whole dyad. You can just start in the middle. And that creates a completely different level of conversation. More depth, more nuance, more honesty. That's a relief. Because you realize how much energy you've been spending just trying to be understood. Whether you're explaining things to colleagues, to families, to people in your world, in your life, your family who don't understand what you do, it is a relief. One of the most powerful parts of this experience is seeing yourself in other people, hearing someone describe a case and thinking, yes, I've seen that exact thing. Listening to someone share their uncertainty and thinking, yes, me too, I wonder about that too. Watching how another provider approaches a situation and realizing either, yes, that's exactly what I would have done, or, wow, that's another way to think about this. So this expands you. And it also grounds you because it reminds you that this work is complex for everyone, not just you. I want to share something that really aligns with the Tongue Tie Expert's mission, supporting breathing, sleep, and airway function. Remplenish creates simple, science-backed tools to do exactly that. Their myo-nozzle turns something you already do every day, drinking water, into gentle resistance training for the tongue, mouth, and throat, supporting nasal breathing, tongue posture, and overall airway health. If you snore, wake up tired, or struggle with mouth breathing, your airway muscles might need a little more support. Remplenish is an easy daily habit that can help you breathe better at night, sleep deeply, and feel more like yourself during the day. Visit their website, remplenish.com, and get 10% off your first order by signing up for their newsletter at the bottom of the site. See the link in the show notes. Now let's talk about a very kind of fun aspect of being in a situation in a room like this. There's something really meaningful about reconnecting, seeing familiar faces, meeting people you've only known online. For me, I got to talk to podcast listeners and students, and I heard things like, I listened to that episode and it changed how I approached a case, or your course helped me finally understand what I was seeing. Those moments matter because so much of what we do can feel invisible. And then suddenly you see the ripple effect. And beyond that, there's just connection, real connection. Hugging someone you haven't seen in years, laughing over shared experiences, taking selfies, being human together. And that sense of belonging, it's not extra, it's essential. Now I want to talk about something that is really important because not everyone at conferences like ICAP agrees with each other. There are different perspectives, different interpretations of research, different clinical approaches, and that could feel uncomfortable. But what I saw was something really encouraging. Respectful disagreement, curiosity instead of defensiveness, questions instead of conclusions. Conversations like, tell me more about why you do it that way. Or here's what I've been seeing. What's your experience? And how do we reconcile these differences? That's how our field grows. Not by everyone thinking the same way, but by people being willing to stay in the conversation and have deep conversations. One of the biggest takeaways for me is this. Practice doesn't just change because of research papers, although that research is important and fun. It changes because of conversations, because of the round tables we had, because of shared experiences, because of patterns we start to notice together. You hear something in a lecture, then you talk about it with someone, then you think about your own cases and something clicks. And maybe it's a small shift, but those small shifts add up. They change how you assess, how you communicate, how you guide families. And over time, they change outcomes. And that's what really matters. There's also this sense of expansion that happens. You start thinking, what else is possible here? You're thinking about new ways to teach, new ways to collaborate, new ways to support families and professionals. You leave with ideas. I know for one, I have a great idea about something I'm adding to the professional course just from one conversation I had with a dentist who is doing some research. So you leave with ideas, but most importantly, you leave with energy. And that energy matters because it carries you through the harder days. And sometimes you feel a little overwhelmed, and that's okay too. There were 4 of us going home together on the same flight, and we were sitting at the airport, and we all had this look on our faces like, oh my goodness, there is so much that we just learned and absorbed. And what I suggested was, let's not feel overwhelmed. Let's let this sit for a while. And then once we're settled in, review what we've learned and see what we can do with it. We have so many ideas we want to integrate, especially those local to me in New Jersey. And that's really exciting because it's my new hometown. Okay, so we have to talk about another part because it's easy to overlook, but it might be one of the most important pieces of the weekend and any conferences you attend. We had fun. We laughed a lot. We told stories. We were a little ridiculous at times, and that's not separate from the work. That's what sustains the work, because when you're holding space for families, when you're navigating complex cases, when you're helping make nuanced decisions, you need moments where you can just be human, where you can let your guard down, where you can exhale. And when you're doing it with like-minded people and professionals and fellow geeks, to be honest, it just feels really fun. So if you're listening to this and you've ever felt like, am I the only one thinking this way? Why does this feel so complicated? Or why does it feel like I'm always the one asking questions? I want you to hear this clearly. You are not alone. There is a whole community of professionals doing this work, thinking deeply, questioning thoughtfully, caring deeply about families, and finding your way into that community changes everything. Because at the end of the day, this isn't just about us. It's about the families we serve. When we feel supported, we think more clearly. When we feel connected, we collaborate more effectively. When we keep learning, we provide better care. This is how standards improve, not in isolation, but together. So whether it's a conference like ICAP, a course, a training, or even just a lunch out with a trusted colleague, I want you to find your people. I want to encourage you to stay curious, stay connected, stay in conversations, even if the conversations are challenging. And if you're looking for a place to deepen your understanding of this work, especially when it comes to assessment, clinical reasoning, and what to actually do with the complexity you're seeing, you can always join my course, The Professional's Guide to Tongue-Tying the Breastfeeding Infant. That's the purpose and the mission beyond my course. It's designed to give you a clear functional framework so you can feel more confident in your assessments, your decision-making, and how you guide your families. Before I sign off, I want to say a special thank you to the organizers of the ICAP conference. It was well done. It was organized. It was full of information without being too tight that we didn't get to have breaks and time for chatting and meeting with friends. And it definitely encouraged conversation in the structure of the conference itself. It was perfectly done. So thank you so much to all of my friends at ICAP for this amazing experience. Thank you to all of you for listening, and I hope to see you at the next conference. This podcast is meant for education and conversation only. It is not medical advice and does not replace formal education, professional training, or individualized care from a qualified healthcare provider. Always seek appropriate guidance for individual concerns. The views and opinions shared by our guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect those of the host or tongue-tie experts. Have you ever found yourself thinking, do I actually know enough about tongue-tie to assess this baby, to talk to this family, to know what should happen next? If you've ever had these thoughts, our newest program, the Confident IBCLC, was created with you in mind. And it's open to anyone who works with babies and families. You don't have to be an IBCLC. This is a 1-hour live, low-cost, high-impact training for anyone working with babies and families who wants more clarity, stronger clinical reasoning, and more confidence around tongue-tie and feeding concerns. This masterclass is here to quiet that imposter syndrome that's been whispering in your ear and to remind you that you are capable, qualified, and needed. You can sign up right now at tonguetieexperts.net. The direct link will be in the show notes.